I started.
There we go. So now the remote in the right place. And turn the music down. And stop that, and let's get underway. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to people around the world. This is Martin Hubel, the former and today's host of the DB2Night show. The reason I'm no longer the regular host is that Mohan, our speaker today, one of our speakers today, is taking over that role. But I'm happy to fill in and be able to have this time with you today. Along with Mohan is Kent Collins. These folks have worked together for a very long time, and it's good to have them here presenting today on database upgrades in pureScale. With that in mind, let me slip through this the slide deck and get the introductions out of the way. And here we go, as we have the Twitter account on DB2Night show on, I guess we're now supposed to call that X, but if we say Twitter, it still works and people know what we mean. If we say X, thank you so much, Elon. And replays are available on YouTube. This is a really good option. If you don't want to bother downloading the file, you can certainly use YouTube to look at it, and that's available from the replay blog, or you can follow the replay channel just by putting in the name there, DB2Night Show 770. The disclaimer, as always, there was a period in my life where I used to read this through as quickly as I could and work on my fast pronunciations of various words. In my advanced age, I decided not to do that anymore. The only update we've made in the last little while is to change the copyright up to 2024. Have a nice day. Next thing is the announcements. The next session is with Les King of the IBM Toronto Lab, talking about I'm sorry, I've got something covering up my screen here. It's actually the control panel, the new DB2 warehouse software as a service Gen 3 on the upcoming episode, and that's in July 19th. So we are actually going to have summer shows this year. Of course, there was a little bit of delay in finding a new host and having things work with the show as I contemplated retirement and then made that decision over the last winter. But please do join us next month for that show on July 19. And there's the link there. Of course, you can find that off the DB2Night show homepage, and also Mohan will publish this on Twitter/X, and you'll be able to find the link for registration there as well. Other things, of course, we always have we're always been grateful for the support of DBI software in terms of making the GoToWebinar platform available to us. We encourage people to become familiar with their tools, both for DB2 LUW and for SQL Server. And you can watch a demo on their site as well, and there's the link. My relationship with, and once again, I guess my logo has got there. I will inform you that at this point in my life, I'm pretty much retired, and Martin Hubel Consulting, Inc. is now a fond memory. It no longer exists as an entity. It's been shut down. My tax codes have been shut off, and I no longer have to file taxes. Yay. And I got to do this all before my 70th birthday.
That's cool.
Yeah, who knew? Who knew you could work till 70? In fact, who knew you could work till 80? I have some friends that are almost doing that now. But that will not be me. I've got a trombone, a room full of trombones upstairs, and I continue to work on playing. And with that, let's move on and quickly do our survey, our polls, as we always have. And the first one we always start with is what versions of DB2 are you currently running? And this is a multiple choice question, so please pick the ones you want. People are dashing to fill those in. Oh, I know they're not because I forgot to launch the quiz. I've constantly been able to not do things correctly. Years and years of practice go into all of the mistakes I make. I try to make different ones, but sometimes the old ones are still the best. And people have voted quickly once they've been given that opportunity. I apologize for that, but what can I say?
It's not letting me pick it, or it didn't.
No, you're a panelist, so you don't vote.
Well, shoot.
Dagnabbit, consarnate.
Nabbit, yeah.
All of that stuff. Okay, next question. I'll hide the result there. You can see that most people are now running newer and newer versions. Are you using pureScale? Hopefully people would be saying yes to this question if they're...
Yeah, I see 60%. 67.
And people have voted on that quickly. Thank you for that. I'll close and share the result on that. Yep, most of the audience is in the right place. We got essentially 84% people that are really interested in pureScale. So we'll hide that and move on. Are you using DB2 RDS in Amazon? Not there yet. It looks like people are voting to that. Again, we'll close that off now and share that result. People are planning perhaps, and some people are saying no. Is your organization cloud-centric? It's an interesting question. Let's see what we get here. And I think that's one you'll want to, I will show this, the results here. 33% yes, 50% are plan in progress, and 17% are no. The cloud is taking over. If you're using a cloud provider, which one is it?
Good to see.
Now, people only got 33% voted, so it'll be interesting to see as the more votes come through here. Oh, good. I'm glad I waited for that, because now, when I share this poll, it shows that every cloud is being used. All the choices have at least one vote. So everybody's in play. And the next one is, are you planning to implement pureScale in the cloud? And interesting, we have 1/3 of our audience says yes. I don't know if we should have had a planning to button on that, but we have 33% yes, and well, actually the question is, are you planning to? And 67% is no. So with that in mind, that's our last question on the polls. So that's I shared that, didn't I? I thought
yeah, you did. Right.
Unshare it again, and we'll move over here. And now I'll turn over control to you, Mohan, and
sure.
I'll make you the presenter. And I will sit here and look for the question and answer queue.
Sure.
And I see your screen. It looks great.
Awesome.
I will now mute myself.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Kent, being on the panelist here. Thanks, everybody, for joining today. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today, we're going to talk about the database upgrade step-by-step procedure for DB2 pureScale. So the agenda, it's going to be an introduction to DB2 pureScale, fixed pack and not pack updates, the version upgrade, and post-upgrade steps, right? So when it comes to pureScale, upgrading a DB2 pureScale environment requires very careful planning and execution to ensure minimal disruption and maintenance to maintain high availability during the upgrade process. So in this particular agenda, we're going to cover what we're going to do, what we should be doing, and then what is the step-by-step procedure to upgrade the database. And also we're going to look at how a fixed pack or a mod pack being updated online, and then what are the steps to follow for version upgrade and post-upgrade steps. All right, so we're going to just talk about a little bit on the pureScale, what pureScale is, and then the DB2 pureScale is a highly available and scalable features of IBM DB2 designed to provide continuous availability and seamless scalability for mission-critical OLTP applications. Extreme capacity, right? The DB2 provides you extreme capacity in terms of the number of members you can run. Logically or theoretically speaking, we can have we can have 128 members in total, and then 2 CFs. 0 to 127, and then 2 CFs, 128 and 129. A key component, which is the brain of the entire cluster, is the CF, which manages the global lock and the buffer pool, ensuring the data consistency and fast recovery. You will not have the single point of failure. You will have the 24/7 availability, because even if the one member goes down or multiple member goes down, if you have the quorum available, then in that case, your cluster will still be operational. But make sure the CFs are in a good shape, because if the CFs are down, your entire cluster will go down. So that's the reason we'll have the 128 and 129 CFs, which will act as a primary and as a standby or a secondary CF, which in terms failover and failback based on which gets as the primary role. And the other one will be waiting just for the failure to occur and then take over the cluster as a primary CF. Application transparency, for example, if you want to migrate an existing application or a database to pureScale, there is no logic or any change needs to be done in the application, because no changes to the application code or configuration to get your application working on pureScale. Load balancing logic is within the DB2 engine, and then you can also use additional connection load balancing options using db2ds driver.cfg file, or a big fix or F5 load balancer and multi-home DNS to reroute the connections in a round-robin fashion. That you can use it just to distribute the workload accordingly on all the members. Let's look at the overall picture of a pureScale. So we can have members 0 to 127. That's a theoretical number, right? So effectively, we run 7-member cluster, and some of them are 3-member clusters, so variety of clusters we use, and then we have about multiple clusters running on different topologies. The non-prod will be a lower topology numbers, and then as and when we go up in production, we'll have a higher number of nodes or members. 2 CFs, primary and secondary CF, which performs multiple things, right? Which manages the global lock manager, the buffer pool, ensuring consistency across, and having the fast data recovery in case something fails. And we have the shared storage, because we need to have the shared storage to have the cluster operational and then data being shared across multiple members in the cluster. So that's going to be the general GPFS, general parallel file system, and now it is called Spectrum file system. The RDMA, protocol over converged Ethernet cluster interconnect, that is very much required, or it's a very key technology that enhances the performance and efficiency of DB2 pureScale. So what is this RDMA altogether, right? So RDMA allows the direct memory access from memory of one computer or one member to another without having to involve the compute resources of the other member. This results in high throughput and low latency, making it ideal for applications that require fast, reliable data transfer between multiple members. That's where we will have this Rocky in the cluster with RDMA. We're going to talk about, there are two RDMA protocols which are available. One is the UDAPO and then verbs. We're going to talk that in the future slide, just about to talk about how exactly or what protocols being used in operating systems. What is a DB2 PureScale member? So a member is a core processing engine within PureScale cluster, like a single partition DB2 database where you have one system controller process and then watchdog, the local buffer pools, lock list, heap, and sort heap, and application heap. But in the case of PureScale, you will have that all of that ready along with additional engine dispatchable units, right? So the engine dispatchable units specifically for PureScale, something like DB2 LLM and G, ensures lock held by a member are released in a timely manner when other member waiting for the specific lock to be released. Then DB2 LLM-MC, it's processed to release the lock to the global lock manager. LLMRC is the database recovery and then CF recovery process. And we'll also have multiple DB2 system controller process. In the case of a single node, you will have one DB2 system controller process, right? But in the case of a PureScale, you will have one DB2 system controller process per member. And you will also see DB2 SYSC with idle state 997, 998, 999. Those are being used for the restart light process. If one member fails, when another member fails over to a different member, then one of these system controller process will trigger the restart light process to undo the transactions or redo the transactions based on the commit point within the application, and then release the locks which were held by the member which was crashed or which had problems. So in the case of DB2 PureScale, there is no concept of a catalog node like a DPF, right? So no data node concepts. It's all the members will have the exact same preference and priority. The DB2 engine address space, which is the DB2 system control process and threads, and the 3 additional DB2 SYSC process, which we just talked about, used for crash recovery and then restart light for a guest. And there are multiple other EDUs, buffer pool page cleaner, log reader, log writer, then deadlock, and then glock for the coordination of the deadlock information between multiple members. What is a CF? The CF is a cluster caching facility, right? That's the brain of the engine, which does a critical component, which does the critical work within the PureScale, designed to manage the data consistency and coordination among the members in the cluster. The key roles and functions of the cluster caching facility include the global lock manager. The CF manages global locks to ensure data consistency across data members. It handles lock requests from all active members, ensuring that multiple members do not concurrently modify a same page, because that's going to lead a problem. So this will keep track of who's holding the recent page, and then it will provide the locking, which will basically unlock and lock the page based on who are requesting and who completes the work. And the buffer pool management, with the global buffer pool management, it maintains the global buffer pool. It keeps track of which member hosts the recent version of the page in local buffer pool. This ensures that all the members have access to the most current data via the data invalidation process. It performs the cross-invalidation process in the background to recopy the page whenever somebody requests. A member to request a page which was recently modified by member 0, then the cross-revalidation process will pick the page from the member 0 and then makes that as the recent page and then push it to the member which is 2. So that way the data page will be in sync between the multiple members. Right. And the last area is about the shared communication area. Contains the cluster-wide control block information, tables, indexes, table space, and catalogs. That's what is going to carry the information. And these three, GBP, local lock manager, global lock manager, the database, CF mem size and the shared memory area. Those are all the configuration parameters within the database, and then you can configure the number of pages based on how much of a workload being run and how much memory you have on the bus, right? So that way you can control the memory for these areas. Now let's look at the online fixback and modpack updates. Modpack and fixback updates procedure is going to be common for both, because you can follow the online or offline. Let's go with the online, because the online approach, what it gives the benefit as a PureScale cluster, you can keep doing the work while the upgrade is in progress. So that way there is no impact to the application as such, except you taking one member down, and that will reduce the capacity for your compute, but it will not take down your application completely. What are the prerequisites to cover with? Review the flashes and open APARs using the link I provided here, and see which one is critical, which one is a fix. Recently, there was an APAR, or the flash came in for the cluster index, which if you have a cluster index in the database, that can potentially create a corruption to the block in the page as well as in memory. So those are the things which we need to look at, and then identify which special build you're going to use. The special build are listed in the step task number 2 section, where you can go and then check the special builds and security vulnerabilities were fixed in those, and what APARs fixed in those. The third one is about validating your space available on the server. You'll have to validate across all the members in CF, not just about one node. You'll have to look at every single server within the cluster, the storage required for your image copy, the temp and var location, and installation file system, and the execute permission for the /tmp. In these days, there are no execute permissions granted to /tmp just to have the enforced security. In that case, you can use the db2 dir variable to export your temp directory specifically for db2, so that db2 can write the temporary files into that temp location while it's performing the installation. There's a link provided just to go through this requirement before you perform the upgrade. The fourth one is about running the predict check. This is very critical, because you'll have to run to see what is not there. For example, which library is missing? Do we have the portal? Do we have the recent MKS search? Do we have the Python libraries built? All that will be looked upon or identified using prereq check. You're going to run through that one. And once the prereq check is complete, and also you fix any issues were reported, then go to the next section. It's about the backup of the database, dbcfg, dbm, registry variables, and then you store them for the future. And download the activation kit. The activation kit is not really necessary for modpack and fixback, but is required for your upgrade, version upgrade. Because when you do a modpack and fixback, it automatically pulls everything from existing, so you don't really have to apply the license again. But in case you're doing the version upgrade, you'll have to apply the license explicitly. Also, validate your etc host files. We have had issues when we had multiple duplicate IP entries, IPs in the etc host file. That creates a problem, because DB2 will verify the IP addresses and then performs the SSH validation in the background while tries to perform the upgrade. If you have multiple with the exact same IP address with the alias names, that will create a complexity or a problem to the installation and upgrade. So make sure you do not have duplicate IP addresses with multiple alias names defined within the etc host file. The release levels within DB2 PureScale. So this is very interesting, because we don't really see through in a single instance database we can see those, current effective code level, current effective architecture level. These two are the DBM configuration parameters you can read through even in a single node database. But it takes preference in the case of a PureScale, because code level, architecture level, CECL, CAL, and section levels are important, because you can run a cluster with heterogeneous status. Heterogeneous means a couple of members can be in updated modpack, and some of them will be still to be updated. In that case, you're not consistently running with one specific modpack or a fixed pack. So at that point in time, the cluster is going to be called as heterogeneous. So how do you identify? One is about the run the command db2pd RU status, or use the table function env get instance code levels. That will get you these four. The code level, architecture level. Code level is nothing but the code which you installed currently, and then which can possibly the current update which you made, right? The architecture level in general, that will be equivalent to the code level, and current effective code level is going to be what code it is in the system before you commit the changes. So when you're going from a modpack 7 to modpack 8, then your code level and architecture level will be modpack 8, and then current effective code level, current effective architecture level will still be pointing to modpack 7, because that's what it is at the cluster-wide level. So until you perform a commit, then current effective code level and current effective architecture level will showcase modpack 7. But the code levels and architecture level will change as and when you move around. You go up from installing and upgrading the member from modpack 7 to modpack 8. And section level generally be the recent update. As and when you update the member, then the section level will also start using the newer modpack. That's why you will see a modpack 8 as section. That is, the engine is started using already. So engine starts using compiling the SQL statements coming over using the new modpack. So you will see 3 of these: code level, architecture level, section level being the new ones, and current effective code level, current effective architecture level will still be the earlier one until you perform the commit. How do you extract the release information? We talked about it, saying you can get the information using env get instance code levels, right? You will see here. I did run this after the update, but if you run in, before the update and over the upgrade cycle, you will see differences here. The instance will still be pointing to 5.7, and then any member which got updated will, the architecture level will still be pointing to the earlier version, and section level and code level will point to the new one. That's what is going to happen, and then until you complete the installation across all of the members and CF. And when you perform the db2pd RU status, RU status is the rolling update status. Rolling update status will be what the instance and what the ID, what is your code levels, the exact same thing what you get from instance code levels, but it will be a textual format. But in the case of a table function, you will get it in tabular format. Right. So one difference you can see here between the member and CF, right? So in the case of a member, you will have for code level, CL, architecture level, CAL, and section levels, and target code level. The target code level is what we are intended to be at the end of the commit cycle. So once you commit, this is what we would like to go to. That's what it showcases when you're checking in between the updates. And the CF, you will see code level, architecture level, target level, but there is nothing which is section level, right? Then CL, CAL, because the DB2 engine is not performing any workload execution on the CFs, right? So only part which CF is doing, synchronizing the locking, global buffer pool, making sure the lock semantics are working correctly, and it doesn't really do any end user workload. That's the reason you will not see those architecture levels in the case of a CF, and also section level, because there's no compilation is happening on that specific CF. That's the reason you don't really see those 2 or 3 of those, except the code level, architecture level, and target level. Very important command you would have run if you're running the pureScale. You would run this db2 instance list command 1,000 times. It basically lists you all the information about what is your current home, what is your home host. If there is a failover, then basically you will see a home host and then current home. Current host is going to be the restart light, wherever restart light happen, right? And then also alerts. So alerts is very important to notice. If there is any problem within the cluster, it will highlight as alert yes, and then you will basically list the alerts using CM list alert to see if there are any alerts and clear those before you start working on the upgrade process. Because if there are alerts, then that potentially impact your upgrade process or update process in general. Sometimes, once you clear all the alerts, right, you can also just issue a cluster clear alert to clear off everything manually. But cluster will automatically do it, will revalidate every single time. And you can also perform the cluster verify command just to make sure my cluster is completely healthy before starting the work. It checks multiple things. One is about the cluster manager resources and all the resources and resource components within TSA, and also verifies the cluster file systems, the GPFS file system, cluster topology. It verifies against your DB2 nodes.cfg and the resources available and the number of members available. So those will be verified. And verifying the SSH configuration for the DB2 instance ID, and verify the RDMA connectivity if you're actually using Rocky interfaces specifically, like the way here. So we use the Rocky interfaces, right? So if you have Rocky interfaces with dual, then basically checks the traffic going against those Rocky, and then it'll figure out if there are any problems. Verifying the replicated file system configuration. This is applicable whenever you run GDPC, right? When you run a geographically dispersed pureScale cluster, then you'll have to replicate the data from one data center to another. So, or from one cluster to another in a GDPC configuration. That's where replicated file system configuration comes into play. And verify the DB2 SSH configuration. This is going to be the DB2 LOC SSH, which bypasses the root having to have a passwordless SSH keys, right? So this is what it's going to look upon, and then figure out root can perform a passwordless SSH using the DB2 LOC SSH. The other two components within pureScale cluster is RSCT and TSA. That's where all the resources and messaging is worked upon. You'll have to make sure the RSCT and TSA prereqs were done, checked, and cleared if there were any issues with it. You can run these commands. The prereq SAM will check the TSAM configuration version and make sure it also reports if there are any problems or not meeting the requirement. And also you can verify the check TSA, which is currently installed on the cluster, which is -v install is basically whatever is installed on the cluster on the member, and whichever is in the media. You can get the version level. So what is in my cluster currently, what is in the image. So that's what it's going to display with -v media, -v instance install. Make sure you set the UMass to 022 for root. That point in time, whenever you perform the installation, you need to export or make sure this is part of your profile to have UMass set to 022, and validate the TSA version and the DB2 version using the link. This link has got the DB2 version and then TSA version association mapping that will give you insight into what I'm supposed to be seeing in the image, just to make sure we have the right image and download it. Once you start working towards the rolling update, right? So you can, let's assume you have 3-member cluster. In that case, you can do 1 member at a time. You can pick any member for that matter. You don't have to go with member 0, member 1, member 2 in a round robin in a fashion, but you can pick any member which has having less work at that point in time. Then you can start working through. The command is going to be install fixpack. You're going to run this from the new location or wherever you have the binaries copied over. And the -p option is going to be for where you want to install this image and instance name. -online is the keyword here to perform the online update. So we are specifying we're going to perform the online update of the modpack or a fixpack. This is going to be same command for both a modpack or a fixpack update. Okay. -l is going to give a log, and then -t is to trace. These are important if you try to understand what's happening. If there was an issue during the update process, you can go through the trace file to see where it failed. It will help you identifying troubleshooting the problem. Once you start the update process, this is what it's going to list you. It's going to list you about what is the target code level. So 11.5.8 is my target. Target architectural level is going to be 11.5.8. And what is my currently installed TSA version? What is in the media? What is going to be after update, right? So this is going to be 4107. There is nothing going to happen with the TSA because that was the current. But when it comes to GPFS, you'll see a difference in the version of the firmware What I have currently is 5058, but after this one, the media has got 51254. Once the update is complete, the GPFS will be on 51254. How many steps we have in the whole process is about 9. The steps include this. One is about installing the DB2 product binary. You can install yourself if you want to, but if you want to let the DB2 update process to perform, it will perform the installation based on what you provide the path as -p. And once the installation is complete, it will now then do the member stopping. It will stop the member using DB2 stop member, whatever member number is, with quiz. It's going to do quiz 1 or 2. And then it performs the stopping of the instance on that specific member. It issues a DB2 stop instance on hostname. And then it performs it will put the member into cluster into maintenance. If this will be a CFS maintenance, it will turn on the CFS maintenance and then perform the TSA and GPFS upgrades first. And once that is complete, it's going to take that maintenance off and then perform, it will exit the CFS as well. There are 2 clusters maintenance. One is CM and CFS. Both will be exited. And once that is complete, it performs the DB2 instance update using the DB2 PDT command, and then start the instance and start the member. So at that point, your database, that specific member will be updated, will have a little different in the code level, architecture level, you can see. Let me see if I have that information here. No. So once that is complete in the previous slide, you will see that member having code level pointing to the 5.1158, but your architecture level will still be pointing to 5.1157. That's what it's going to show up if you see, and if you perform the DB2 PD-audio status, it will showcase that information. And then you're going to perform now. So you will have to complete this cycle for all the members. So we did that on one member. You repeat the same process for the number of members you have. Now, once this is complete, you activate your databases, then you will see the workload coming over to this particular member and then take the next member down. Exact same procedure, follow the same cycle until you complete all the members first. So once all the members are updated to the recent, it could possibly be 1158 or 1159, then perform the CF update. The CF update, you'll have to pick the secondary CF, right? You don't want to fail over and then do that. So you're going to pick the secondary first. When you perform the secondary, there's no change in the command, right? The command is going to be exactly the same with -online, and then you're going to run this on the secondary CF server. You will exactly see everything common. But what it identifies is this is a CF, right? It tells you stop installing the product and stopping the cluster caching facility on the local host and stopping the instance and then entering into maintenance, perform the GPFS and TSA updates and exiting the cluster manager maintenance, and then perform the DB2 update configuration. It pulls it and then updates it and start the instance and start the CF. So it's going to perform DB2 start CF, whatever number, 128 or 129 at that point. So once that is complete, your CF will be updated. Once the CF is updated, you will have to wait for it to be in peer because you cannot rightly take down the CF or fail over the CF, because once you bring up your CF after the update, you'll have to wait for it to be in peer state because you want all the data to be synced from your current primary to the new so that you can fail this CF over. You can verify this using db2 instance list command or using the db2 admin view, which is db2_cf. That will tell you how much of a percent sync has happened between the time you took it over and then started. So it will take a little bit of time, and then you will see that primary being 301 and in peer, that means both are in sync. At that point, you can take down the CF secondary, which is updated secondary CF. You can take it, you can fail it over. So how do you fail over? There is no HADR kind of a failover command here. So you need to stop that primary CF. Issue DB2 stop CF 128, which is current primary. So once you issue it, then that particular CF goes to a stop state, and transition will happen from primary to the new primary. So it will pick up, the secondary will pick up as primary, and it will start running the synchronization from this particular node. And then now you can start working on updating this 128 CF using the exact same procedure listed back here, right? You're going to run the exact same thing, what is listed, and that's what it's going to do. So we're going to do it on the old primary, run the exact same command. You can change the log file names to just to know which member and which CF you run the update on. So that way you can easily identify without having to worry about looking at the file inside. So once both the CFs were updated, right, and now your cluster, even though all the members and CF are having the new code, which is the code level, which is recent, but current effective code level and current effective architecture level will still be pointing to 11.5.7 because we did not commit the entire change. So until you commit, the cluster will still think you're running on the older version, even though it's running the code which is newer. There's another point to look at is if you want to, you identify something, right? Even though the code which is not committed, DB2 will start using the new binary to compile the statements. You can let this run for about a couple of hours, a couple of days to see if there are any impact based on the update. Not a couple of days, probably a couple of hours is good enough. If there are no problems, then you can commit it. If there are problems, you can go back to the older modpack or a fixpack. Once you commit, you cannot go back. So there is no rollback after you commit. Only rollback is provided or applicable if the code is not committed at the cluster-wide level, right? Verify the CFs are, there's no alerts in the system before committing. There's one other item is about heterogeneous instance state, right? So when you start the update process, that point in time, the cluster will go to heterogeneous state. What do you mean by heterogeneous state? Some of the members will be on the newer modpack or a fixpack, and some of the members will be running on the older modpack or fixpack. So that is the heterogeneous state. So when the cluster is running in that state, there are some restricted operations, which are basically you cannot add a member or a CF. You cannot create a database from the member has the new code, which is higher than the code, which is effective code level. You cannot drop the cluster. You cannot update the event monitor tables using the EVMon update tables. And you cannot update the database system catalog using DB2 UPDB115. So you'll have to wait until the commit is complete, then you can perform these tasks, but you cannot perform any of these tasks when the database cluster is in heterogeneous state. Now let's look at the commit level, the check commit and commit level. Check commit is basically just about checking to see if we are ready for commit, right? And then commit level is going to be committing the code across the cluster. At that point, your code level, architecture level, current effective code level, current effective architecture level, and section level all become exactly the same. So the way you perform the commit check is about using the db2 install fixpack command with -check_commit, and then exactly same thing, right? You pass the instance name, and then you can have the trace file and the log file. It will tell you if there are any issues, then it will tell you what the issue is. If there are no, then you should be seeing this message. It will tell you what the version or the modpack you will see after you commit. So it will tell you this information. Once you're clear with this particular message of checking, and then you perform the commit. So at this point, if you run the db2 pd RU status command, right, when you had this check commit status in place, but not the commit level, you will see update in progress status. And you will see here the code level is actually 11.5.8, but your current effective code level is still pointing to modpack 7. And your current effective architecture level, CEAL, is still pointing to 7. Right? That's what is going to showcase. And then once you perform the commit level, then everything won't be at the same level. As I said in the beginning, the CF, you won't see the code level, section levels, because there is no engine or there is no workload running, user workload running on these two. Now you're going to perform the commit level. So instead of a commit check, you're going to check commit, you're going to run the commit level here. And once that is complete, it says successfully completed. At that point, if you run the DB2PD RE status, then you will see everything which is pointing to modpack 8. That's what is going to be, that's what the success state, right? So that's what you will see at the end. And CF will see modpack 8 as well. If at all you had issues and then you want to roll back to modpack 7, you will have to perform this particular step, which is you're going to go back to where the installation path is, right? And then you perform the install fixpack with -P pointing to the modpack, which is modpack 7, -F level. So -F level, basically, we're going to downgrade the instance from 11.5.8 to 11.5.7. So downgrade is possible with the -online. Again, you'll have to perform exactly the same, every single member and a CF. Same procedure what we follow to upgrade, you'll have to follow the same thing to downgrade it and again commit it. So that way it will go back to 11.5.7. Okay. If you commit, there is no way to go back. So if you commit and then you had issues, then only way to get back to the older version is about bringing down the cluster, rebuilding your cluster again. There is an option to run concurrent. Let's assume you have 7 members, and then if it is going to take longer, if you want to cut down the time it's going to take, you can run concurrent online fixpack or modpack update. You can run them in parallel, but make sure you do not take more than half the members and the CF. So you'll also have to manage the quorum. You should always be, n+1, n by 2 plus 1. That's what you should always maintain to keep the quorum in sync so that inappropriate failovers are attempted. So that way, if you have, let's say, if you take an example of 4 members and 2 CF, you can run member 0, member 1, and a secondary CF at once, and run member 2, member 3, and primary CF at second. So this way you can perform 2 updates in concurrent and reduce the time. But the best is to perform member-wise instead of doing the concurrent based on our approach. And concurrent online update is available only after 11.5.5. It's not available anything which is lower than 11.5.5. You cannot perform the concurrent updates in that situation. What if you have HADR, right? So it is pretty much similar for a modpack and fixpack. Whatever we do with regular HADR with single node databases, right? You follow the same thing. You're going to perform a stop HADR on primary, stop HADR on secondary, perform online update on the secondary cluster, commit the code, and perform the primary cluster update and commit the code, and then stop the HADRs. You don't have to resync it. But stopping of the HADR is not mandatory. It's not really required. You can still do without bringing the HADR down. Only thing is, whenever you perform the secondary cluster upgrade, right, update, if the replay master running on member 0, you want to take that member 0 down for update, then you basically move that replay master from member 0 to member 1. How do you do it? You basically stop the HADR for that specific database and start it on the other member. So automatically when you start it, that specific member will become the replay master for that specific DB. So that way, you're not going to take the HADR outage here, but it's just that stopping and starting just to move your replay master from one to another. So that way, your DR or your the synchronization is not affected. Post-update tasks, basically you're going to perform the catalog update using DB2 UPDB 115, right? That's what you're going to do, and then perform the rebinds and the binding of the packages, which is going to be rbind to rebind all the packages which are available in the system, in the database. And you perform the binds of DB2 schema, DB2 ubind, DB2 CLI. If there are federations, if you're using federation, you need to bind dsproc and then stats. And then if you're using spatial, then you'll have to bind DB2 GSC bind list as well. In the case of a version upgrade, let's pause for a minute. Martin, do we have any questions?
Actually not.
Okay, cool.
Clear.
Awesome. version upgrade of the pureScale cluster. So version upgrade is a little different than performing the modpack or a fixpack update, right? In the case of a version upgrade, the steps are going to be, it's a full outage because you cannot do online when it comes to version upgrade. You will have to take the complete cluster outage and then perform the update or upgrade. The steps are highlighted here. One is about as a user, instance user, you force all the connections, stop the instance. And as a root, you put the cluster in maintenance, your cluster manager into maintenance, and then cluster file systems into maintenance. Once that is complete, you install the DB2 on all the members and CF. You install the new version DB2 across the members and the CF, and the exit your maintenance, the cluster manager maintenance, and then CFS maintenance. Once you update, the step 3 is once you install, TSA and GPFS will take effect. Those, as soon as you perform the update with cluster being turned off, GPFS and the TSA will automatically get updated to the recent version. That's what is going to happen in step 3. So once you bring those, the CM and CFS, now you will see those, the cluster file system, the GPFS driver are going to be the recent, and the TSA will be the recent as well. And once you exit out, then you can commit the CFS and CM. So that's basically committing your TSA and then GPFS version or firmware updates. Once that is complete, you can bring up the instance, DB2Start instance on hostname, just to see if it's looking good to you, right? But you still have to follow the database upgrade and the instance upgrade process. So once the cluster level upgrade is done, what we're going to do is we're going to do the instance upgrade. So for instance upgrade, you can run the check upgrade with the TSA and GPFS being upgraded. And once that is ready, and then you don't really see any problem with it, you can take the instance down again, because in the previous step, we took the instance up with the DB2Start instance on. We did not take the members up, but we just took the instance up. We have 2 components within it. One is the member and the instance. We only made instance up, but not the member. In this situation, you bring down even that instance down again. Then you globally upgrade the instance using DB2I upgrade -G. So -G, it's going to perform the upgrade across the entire cluster. So once the upgrade is complete, you can start the DB2. That will start the instance, and if you stop the members manually, then you'll have to start yourself. But if it was part of the DB2 stop, then members will also be started automatically. Then validate your DB2 level on the member and the CFs, and then you should see the recent upgraded version. Once the instance is upgraded, now the next step is to upgrade the databases by itself, right? So now the instance is up to date, which is, let's say, 12.1 in the future, and then, but the databases are not upgraded. So we need to upgrade the database now. Log into any member. You don't have to log into every member in this case. You're going to log into one member. You perform the database upgrade command, DB2 upgrade database. You can also perform the bind all as well as an option, or you can rebind explicitly. You can do either ways. And then you're also binding all the schema binds, and then CLI list, and then also perform the federation as well, right? So I have listed a couple of pointers here about in the link. You'll see some of the additional steps you need to be performing because those are important to look at before you sign off on the cluster. So there are steps included in the link. Go through the link to see what steps needs to be included in your case. There's one item which is called RDMA, right? So we know RDMA, which is the remote direct memory access protocol, right? So where the protocol being UDAPL in the case of RHEL 7 and verbs in the case of RHEL 8. UDAPL is deprecated, and then that's not available within RHEL 8. When you try to upgrade your database server from RHEL 7 to RHEL 8, you will have to make a modification because the UDAPL will go away, and then eventually verbs will come on the system. So that's where this particular snippet is. DB2 11.5.8 introduces the new support for pureScale with RDMA on RHEL 8.6. This requires an offline update because it needs a conversion from UDAPL to verbs for RDMA. It is not possible to perform online update in this case. So But if you want to perform an online update from 11.5, any mod packs to mod pack 8, if you're not upgrading RHEL to a recent newer version, RHEL 8.6 and above, you don't have to. You can still do online. But if you're upgrading your cluster or the Linux as well to RHEL 8, then you will have to use verbs. At the time, it will be a complete outage. Even though it is a mod pack, you cannot do it online just because the RDMA protocol is getting changed between the versions of your RHEL. Okay. What has changed between RHEL 7 and 8 is about URAPL, the User Direct Access Programming Library, which basically drives the RDMA technology for the direct memory access between members and the CF to reduce the latency and CPU overhead. And the verbs is nothing but the LIB, IB verbs. These are the libraries which are being replacing the URAPL. Those are introduced in 8.x or 8.6. And that needs an outage. This is the only case where a mod pack or a fixed pack needed an offline update along with the RHEL upgrade. But otherwise, it's going to be an online. I think with that, we are done. We are the last slide of the presentation. Kent, do you want to add any point?
No, that was very thorough and very good. I mean, a couple of the commands that were shown, unless you put local in them, they'll run across the entire clusters. I think RU status, for example, will.
Oh yeah.
I think it will, right? It'll run across everything.
Across the cluster. Yeah, all the members in CF.
Yeah.
Okay, Mohan, we have one question here from Victor.
Yep.
Once installation and commit is completed successfully, is it safe to uninstall the old DB installation path?
Yes, for sure. Because once your commit is done, you cannot roll back, right? So at that point in time, you have to rebuild the cluster. You can safely uninstall the older. When you uninstall, you'll have to perform -S, TSA, -S, GPFS, because you just need to skip those. It will not, even though if you don't specify -S, GPFS, -S, TSA, it will not remove those. It will tell you, I cannot remove GPFS and then TSA because I'll reactive. But just not to receive that warning message, you can specify -S option, but you can go safely go and then remove it.
Good.
And and you want to, right? Because /opt will get huge if you don't.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, that was the only question I had in.
Okay, cool.
So with that, let me wrap up the show here by, first of all, first thing I need to do is take back control so people can see my screen.
Sure.
And there we are. Sorry about that, a little bit of cough going on there. And let me move to the screen. There we are. And ask the famous and final question we have for our audience every day. Our great looking audience is, did you learn anything today? And we're collecting responses. And we're into a good number here, so I'm going to close it and share it quickly. 80% of our audience said yes, they learned something, which means that we're back to 100% in terms of people learning something from the DB2Night show, and that's always a good thing to see.
It's great.
So with that, Mohan and Kent, thank you so much for presenting today. As always, it's always a pleasure to see that we've done good value for our audience and provided information they wanted. So that's great. Thanks so much. And Mohan, why don't you run the next show?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
And with that, I'll thank our audience. I'll cue the famous theme music. And
Martin, thank you for your service, buddy. I mean,
yeah.
It's been many years of doing this. I mean, you've been an absolute joy.
I do my best. We've had a lot of fun. I've met some marvelous people. One of my regrets is not coming to conferences to see my friends anymore, but on the other side, many of my good friends have always kept in touch anyway, and we'll continue to do that. And who knows, my wife and I might start traveling, and as we go around the world, we'll drop in and see people as we do that. Take good care, all. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you in another month.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
My mouse is giving me a little bit of problems. It's got this idea of starting and stopping. There's the music. Thanks to all. And